Hi all, welcome to Boomi MasterDataHub Usecase demo. I'm Shalini Neralla. Today we are going to discuss about employee onboard use case. Consider an organization that maintains its employee contact information across multiple applications. So it's always a best practice to have a single source of truth. MasterDataHub here gives us that single source of truth. In our use case, what we're going to do is we get the employee information from Postman and we build an integration process that listens to that employee data and sends it to Master Data Hub. In Master Data Hub, we configure the fields and validations to get a golden record. So all the golden records are then sent to the end applications via Boomi integration processes. Right? So let's now configure Master Data Hub. But before to that, we need to identify which data to master. So according to our use case, we are going to work on employee contact information, right? So the domain will be employee and the model will be contact. Then we need to work on the entity relationship diagram. So here we have to list out all the various applications that are used in our use case. And we need to list out all the corresponding fields for each application. We should also define all the data types, the mandatory checks, etc. Right? And a domain data model which contains the list of all the fields. So with this information, we are then going to design our model with the fields that are used across applications, with the mandatory checks, the data types, etc. Okay. So with this, we have defined a model. Okay. Then, so the concept of creating a golden record actually goes through the life cycle of Master Data Hub. So this involves four steps. The first, which is define, where you define your model and you deploy your model to the repository. Third is synchronize, where we execute our Boomi processes to move data between the source and the MDM. And the stewardship, where we apply all the rules and validate the data. Okay. So for the first step, in order to create our model, we'll go to Master Data Hub. So let's go to Master Data Hub. So once you log in, you'll be landed on this page, the repositories. So a repository is a virtual container for your data storage. Okay. So I'll first go and create a repository. It will prompt then for you to select your atom. So I'll select my regional atom or cloud and repository name. So I'll name this as employee. Okay. So this is now done. So our repository is created. The next step in the define is to define your sources. So you'll create your sources here. So in my use case, I have used the applications like Salesforce, database, Zoho, and external application that sends data to Master Data Hub. So I'll configure all of them here. I'll say Salesforce and I'll copy the same to source ID here. So the source ID should be unique and this have to be remembered because this is the same that have to be given in your Boomi integration process to send data to this particular source. Okay, so Salesforce is one. The next source I'm going to create database, copy and paste. So the next is Zoho, save. So this is the external application that sends data to Master Data Hub. Okay, so this is now created. All the sources are now created. So let's now create the model. So here you can see a model specifies fields, match rules, data quality steps, and tags. So I can go and create the model here. I'll name this as contact. And the next is to create the fields. So in order to add the fields, you can either import from the profile or use Boomi Hub Suggest, where you can get the suggestions from Boomi community, or you can also add the fields manually. So I already have the profile created, so I'll go and select it from the profile. Data synchronization, employee XML profile. These are my fields. I'll say import. Then data quality steps. So here in fields, make sure that the data quality dimension completeness is achieved, which means you have to make sure that all the fields that are used across applications are mentioned here, right? So then the next is to have the data quality steps. So here is where you enrich and validate your data. If I add the data quality step, you can see here you have the you can create use the Boomi integration process called here. So you can enrich your data by adding extra logic by using the Boomi integration process. Also, we have add services here where you can use external services. For example, locate will help you to have the address information, accurate address information, and this helps you to have the accurate identity information. So you can have the identity information here. So you can install and use those services. By this, you can make sure that the data quality dimension accuracy is achieved, right? By enriching your data, you can make sure that accuracy is achieved. Then for validating your data, you can use business rules here. You can add rules for validation. For example, say we have a scenario where our employee ID either starts with 12 or 57. Say my full-time employee has the employee ID starting with 12, and a contractor will be having its employee ID starting with 57. And this is the case. Then I will add a condition saying that employee ID starts with either 12 or employee ID starts with 57. So if this is not met, then we'll give the error employee ID is not valid. So this way you can add the business rules for validation. So here you can achieve the data quality dimension conformity. So by making sure that you are validating all the validations that are required in your organization. So the conformity will be achieved here by doing this validations. Then the next is match rules. This lets you either create a new golden record or update the golden record based on the rule that you're going to define here. So I'll just add my match rule and I'll say match on employee ID. So by saying this, you are saying that if the employee ID already exists, then go and update it. If not, create a golden record if the employee ID doesn't exist. Okay. So with this, you are making sure that the data quality dimension uniqueness is achieved. So because you either create or update, so you are making sure that there is uniqueness in the data. Then record title format. So this gives you the record title format. For example, if I say this, your golden record gets created with this sample. Okay. So then tags. So tags help you to specify a rule for categorizing the golden records based on the field values. Say for example, I will add the tag saying employee. I'll differentiate based on the employee and the contractor. So say contract type is either if it is equal to employee. So this is one, and I'll categorize the other on contractor. I'll select the field contract type here. Done. So by this, you can make sure that your data quality dimension governance is achieved. So just by categorizing your golden records based on their field values, you can make sure governance is achieved. Okay. So now that we have defined our model, you can publish and deploy it. So we have now published it. So this is published and is now ready to get deployed. So far we have done with the first step in our life cycle. So the second step is to deploy. Now we are going to deploy this model to the repository. So I'll deploy here. I can select my repository and the model version. I'll say okay. This is being deployed to the repository. This takes some time. So this is now deployed. So then I'll go to repositories here, and you can see this the model being attached to the repository. Okay. Now if I go into this, you'll be able to see sources here. Now we know to attach the sources that we have defined to this model here. So attach your first source. So sources can be either to contribute the data or accept channel updates, or they can do both, either contribute or accept. Okay. So I'll have the list of sources here. Database, I'll configure that to have both. It can send as well as contribute the data. I'll just say attach and attach another source, Salesforce. So this also will do both. And here you can see we have record level options where you can have approval for new records, updates. If you want human intervention for any records, so you can have those record level options here. Here as well at field level options, you can have record level options, field level options. And for outbound as well, whether you need to send all records or apply rules for sending records to this source. This way, you can have the record as well as field level options set. So attach. I'll attach the other source, Zoho. And the external application will only send the data. It will not accept anything. So we are using Postman here to send the data, employee information to MasterDataHub. It only will contribute data. It doesn't accept anything. So I'll say contribute data. This is now done and attached. So all our sources are now attached to the model. Now what we have to do is to enable the communication between the source and MasterDataHub. So if you see here, we have something called enable initial load. When I say enable initial load, it opens the channel communication to send data from source and the MasterDataHub. See here, it turns to blue. Once you enable initial load, it turns to blue. So now I'll go to Boomi integration process to send the data to MasterDataHub. See here, initial load. I already have the processes created. We just need to configure them. Database to MDM. I'll configure this now. Database connection. I already have the connection created. Operation. Get employee database operation. Get employee database profile. Import test cloud. Use your connection. Schema filter. And say next. It listed out me the tables. I'll select employee here and say next. Select all the fields. So this is successfully imported. Then let's now configure MDM. MDM connection. So MDM connection, this is the URL that you need to pass, and username password. If you go here onto the repository, you see something called configure here. So this will be your username and password. So authenticate. This is the username and password to authenticate with the repository. Save and close. And the operation. This is from the database, right? So I'll say database MDM operation. And now I'll import this MDM connection source. You need to give the source ID that you have given. So database, say next. And this will display the contact, the model contact, say next. This is now done. You can see the source here, database. This is now done. Let's now configure the map. This is my database profile. Sorry, this is my database profile. And here I have the XML profile for master data hub. Let's now map this contractor type, department, date of joining, email ID, employee name. Also, you need to map this ID here. So employee ID, you can give a unique reference here, employee ID. This is now done. Now, if I go to database, I have one record here. So I'll execute this and make sure MDM, you have the initial load enabled here. Okay, this is initial load enabled. Now, if I execute this, this is executing. So this is now executed. If I go here, I should be able to see a golden record here. See here, the golden record is created. So which means this record has gone through all the validations and is now a source of truth. Okay, a golden record is now created. So I'll go to the source here, database, and because the channel has sent the update to source here, we can finish the initial load. Remember, when we are enabling the initial load here, the other sources will be blocked from receiving the updates. This is now done. So see here, it turns to green. Okay. Next, what we'll do is enable the initial load for Salesforce. This is now turning to blue. Okay. Meantime, let's configure the Salesforce to MDM process. This is Salesforce to MDM here. Create your connection. I already have the connection created. I'll select it. And my operation, import. Say next. Here the object I have employee and query. Next. Say next. So a profile is now created. Save and close. I'll name this as get employee Salesforce operation. Okay. So now configure the MDM. I'll select the MDM connection. For operation, now you need to select the Salesforce source. For each source, you need to have a different operation. MDM connection. The source here is Salesforce, say next. So the object type contact. This is now created. Let's configure the map. XML. So employee ID to employee ID, the unique reference here again, contact name, name here, number is not there, address, email, employee type, date of birth, date of joining, and department. So we have configured all of this. Make sure initial enable load is enabled here, and in my Salesforce, let me log in. I go to employee here. I have one record. Okay, this is my record. This is my record. Let's now execute this. This is done. If I come here, golden record, see here I have 2. Okay. So with this, our initial enable load is done. I'll go back to the source and we'll finish the initial load for Salesforce. It turns green. Let's now configure for Zoho. So this is enabled. I'll go here and configure for Zoho. Zoho to MDM. So MDM, I'll select the connection here and operation. This will be for Zoho. Say next. This is done. Here I've got the data from Zoho by querying one employee record. This is my one employee record from Zoho. So I'm directly sending it from using MessageShip here. Let's now configure the map. So I'll select the JSON profile here from initial load. So this is for data of one employee, and I'll select XML. Let's now configure this. Employee ID to employee ID. And I'll concatenate first name and last name. So I'll just say string concat first name, last name, This is my first name. This is my last name. Map it to contact name. Email ID. Employee type. Date of joining. Department. I do not have the number and address, right? Fine. So save and close. Let's now execute this. This is executed. So we need to have 3 golden records here. See, we have 3 golden records. So let's go to the model here and finish the initial load for Zoho. Now for the external application, what we need to do here is, let's again enable the initial load. And now we need to send the data from Postman to Master Data Hub, right? So I will go back here. Let's go to data synchronization folders. This is to add the employee data to MDM. I've exposed this as server, web services server. I'll say this employee, get employee. Input type is single XML object. Employee XML profile. Response type is single data. Fine. So this is done. Add, so then configure your MDM connection. This is from external application. Import. Say next. Say next. And finish. So save and close this. Let's now configure the map. So I'll choose the XML profile that is coming here. Data synchronization, employee XML profile, and XML profile. So employee ID to employee ID. I can use Boomi suggest here. This is not required. This is not required. ID to ID. So all these are done. Now save and close. And save this. So let's expose this as an API now. Okay. Save and close. I have the API already created here. I'll just import or add this as a REST endpoint. Create employee. If I go to REST here, I can import the endpoint. Okay. I'll use the existing process that we've created now. Done. Okay. So I'll make this as a post method. Save. Let's now deploy this. this create employee as well as sub process. Say next. I'll create a packaged component for this and we'll deploy. Okay, I'll deploy this to test atom cloud. Make sure that is the one. It should be test atom cloud only. Say next and deploy. This is successful. If I go to the endpoint, so let's go to atom management page. Test atom cloud shared web server. This is my endpoint base URL and give access to this. Okay. Go to Postman here. Let's copy this, followed by our endpoint and basic authorization. Copy this. This is now done, and this is my body. This is how I'm passing my data. So I'll just say send. Okay, send. Just now have to send the data to master data hub. See your data sent successfully to MDM. Let's go to master data hub here. See if we have the data golden records. So see here, this is the data that we have sent now. So we have 4 golden records created, right? So if I go here to outbound activity, you'll be able to see for the source database, we have 3 records that needs to be sent, right? So these 3 have to be synced. Currently, see here in golden records, we have 4, out of which this is sent from database. See here, Ashwini is sent here from database. So what happens here? In your outbound activity, you'll be able to see the other 3 other than Ashwini. So the rest 3 will be in your outbound activity that will be synced to your database, as well as for Salesforce. Other than Vahini, you will see the other 3. So this will be synced with Salesforce and for Zoho. So this way, the data will be synced with all the end applications. Fine. So now these are in the outbound activity which are in pending state. Once you execute your Boomi process to send the data to the end applications, they'll go into delivered state. This is a process reporting page kind where you can see the outbound activity and inbound activity here. See here, this is the inbound activity. You can see what data has been sent and when. So all that information will be seen here. So then is the synchronization step. So far we have done the 2 steps: define, where we have defined a model, and deploy, where we have deployed the model to the repository. And the third step is synchronization. We need to send the data from master data hub to the end applications. So go here. Here you can see sync MDM data to other applications. So see here, this is my process which sends the data from MDM to database. We need to configure this. So let's configure this. Okay. MDM query, choose the connection, MDM connection, and my operation. database, say next. So this is done. We're querying from MDM now. So here, based on your operation type, you have three operations type for create, update, and delete. If I go here to Master Data Hub, you'll be able to see in the outbound activity the type. So this is a create record. Similarly, we have for update and delete as well. Okay, so this is for create record. If I go here, I can route this by profile element, and this is my XML profile and data synchronization. So here I'll select my operation type. So the operation type can be create, update, or delete. So I'll use here for create and update. Okay, this is for create and update. So default is to this. This is to create, and this is to update. Let's now configure the database. So I'll go here and configure my database. Insert database operation. So based on the operation type, I can send the data to insert or update paths. Dynamic insert, import, employee table, select the fields and finish. So this is for insert. Similarly, we'll now create for update. Okay, so this is for update. Update operation and select your update database profile. Dynamic update, import this, say test cloud, and select your connection. Easy step in underscore KT. Select the table, your fields, and the condition that it have to get updated with. Next and finish. So we are now done with configuring the operations. Let's now configure the map. So this is MDM2 database insert map. Select MDM, query response 3, and this is database insert database profile, right? So contract type department, I'll just go and say Boomi suggest. Date of joining, we have it here. Employee ID to employee ID. Employee name, let's give contact name here. This is employee ID, contact name, email ID, contract type, date of joining, and department. So this is done for insert map and MDM to database update map. Let me map it. Department date of joining, email ID, employee ID, contact name, and employee ID to employee ID. This is done. So we have done MDM to database. Let's now configure MDM to Salesforce. This is Salesforce operation. Import. Done. Response 5. Save and close. Configure your Salesforce. Employee upsert. Import. Select your object. And action will be upsert. So here I don't need to use operation type because Salesforce itself will do either insert or update. Finish. So select your external ID. This is my external ID. This is done. Configure the map. MDM to Salesforce map. Choose the profile. In here, Salesforce upsert request. Employee ID to employee ID. Contact name to name here. Contact number we don't have. Contact address. Contact email. Contract type. Date of birth, date of joining, I'm not mapping currently because we might have issues with date. For now, I'm not mapping because we need to have the logics for demo purpose. I'm not mapping it. Department, and make sure you map the external ID here as well. Employee ID with external ID, which will be used for either inserting or updating. This is done. Save and close. Make sure the data that you're getting from source, this is for Salesforce, is correct, and here you need to have it from database just to cross verify. Yes, so far so good. MDM to Zoho. Let's configure MDM. Source will be Zoho. Response 6. And final query response 6. Here I'm limiting the fields to 5 here at Zoho, and this is the format that we need to provide. So I'll map employee ID to employee ID. First name, I'll give the contact name to first name. And for the last name, we have written a small logic here to just map the letter of the contact name. The first letter will be mapped to last name here. And check employee. So this will verify if the employee presence. This particular map function will check if the employee exists or no. If exists, that will be stored in the dynamic document property here, saying record ID. Okay. Then email ID, contact email. So we don't need to map marital status. So this is done. So far good. Okay. This particular sub process is for formatting your message to send the request to Zoho. Here we are checking the dynamic document property if it exists or no. If it exists, we are going and updating it, else we'll go and add that employee. Okay. So with this, we have configured all our end application integrations. Now what we'll do, here in the outbound activity, we have all the data for database, Salesforce, and Zoho. Let's now go and execute this process which syncs the data from MDM to all other applications. Okay, executing. So this is now executed. If I go here to MDM, I'll now be able to find no data here. So Salesforce, Zoho, and database. So if I go here, you can see them in delivered state. Salesforce and Zoho. Now let's go and see in our applications. This is the employee table. So see here, we have all the records here. Let's go to Salesforce here. See here. So this way we send the data. We are having a single source of truth here, which is MDM, and from MDM we are sending the data to all other end applications. Okay. Similarly, we have it for Zoho as well. Okay. This is now done. So let's now do one end-to-end integration. Okay. Let's now send one data from Postman. I will send some data here. I'll call this as contractor. Now let me execute this. Okay. This data is sent. Now if I go here into the golden records, see here I have this record, contractor, fine. And if I go here to outbound activity, that is waiting in my pending state. So I'll now go and execute this particular process that send data from MDM to applications. This is now done. So if I go here to database, see here I'm able to find the record Sandhya, and here Sandhya. In Zoho as well, I should be able to see the record. See here Sandhya. So all these records that are added now. Okay. So this way we can do the end-to-end integration between MDM to other applications. So this is the third step of synchronization. Third step where we are sending the data from MDM to synchronizing the data from MDM to all other applications. If I open one record here, I'll be able to see the data, the sources, the tag that we have given employer contractor, so the history. If you want, you can edit this record or indent this record. So far we have completed the synchronization step, and the fourth step, coming to the fourth step, which is stewardship, where you can validate your data. So see here, this is a golden record, where you can see all the golden records here. Quarantine, if there is any issue with the records, you'll be able to see them here. So right now we have 0 entries, right? So let me send a record here. Employee ID should start with 12 or 57, right? I'll send this as 11 and will send this. So this is done. If you now see here, see data quality error. This is a data quality error. See here, this is a data quality error for Sandhya, and here you'll be able to see employee ID is not valid. Okay, employee ID is not valid. You can correct that and resubmit if required, or you can delete this. So human intervention will be required here to resolve this issues. So that was the quarantine state, and here this is the staged entries, where if you have to import large amounts of data, you can do that and see how it is affecting the batch submissions. This is the staging area. Yeah. So that's about the stewardship. So now going back to our presentation, we have done the life cycle: define, deploy, synchronize, and steward. So that's the end of our session. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.